witness the unfold facets of Anarkali's existence. Let us celebrate the power of storytelling and the resounding impact it has on our understanding of history and human emotion. Congratulations to Sumant Batra on this literary masterpiece, and to all of you, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for being part of this significant occasion. May Anarkali find its place in your hearts as it continues to echo through the annals of literary excellence. Enjoy the journey into the past and let the pages of this captivating tale transport you to a world where love and resilience triumph over the sands of time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Salma Sultan ji, Meenu ji, I'm going back to my class 8 and 9, yeah. Yeah. Please come on stage, and of course Asha, please. नहीं, मैं अपनी एज डिस्क्लोज कर रहा हूँ. Come, Asha, please. Meenu ji, आई.
इन्होंने कुछ भी कहा हो, लेकिन हमारा स्लोगन ये है, और जो हमारी तरह लोग सबका ये होना चाहिए कि we are recycled teenagers.
This is really very tight. The hardest part of the evening. Yes. Sia, can you please have this gather from here, because there are all some. Thank you so much. It's a request. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anarkali by Sumant Batra.
मेरे ख्याल से एक इम्प्रेशन और खत्म होना चाहिए. लोग सुमंत बत्रा को जानते हैं एज अ लॉयर, इंसॉल्वेंसी लॉयर, तो वही नहीं है ये. He is an incorrigible romantic also.
And Ajay Jain, as in, I'd like you to shut the door so that nobody goes out of the room without buying a copy. And you'll have to actually check invoices made, yeah? Everybody has to have a copy. Okay. You can't check out. Just to begin with, I'd like Vishal to just say a few words in introduction. Of course, he needs no introduction, and I'm absolutely privileged that he agreed to come here for this evening in the middle of a lot of busy schedules. He's got to leave early, so we'll just have him say a few words and then.
Thank you, Shantanu, for calling me, and good evening to all of you. I'm so happy that somebody worked on this character, because otherwise Anarkali for us is जब प्यार किया तो डरना क्या. So वो मुगल आज़म से कभी बाहर नहीं निकली, तो इसलिए कभी दीवार से भी बाहर नहीं निकली. और मुझे भी सरप्राइज़ हुआ है सोच के कि अगर ये कैरेक्टर हिस्टोरिकल है या हिस्ट्री से प्रेरित है, तो इस पे कभी किसी ने क्यों नहीं काम किया, क्योंकि ये इतना इंटरेस्टिंग कैरेक्टर है. और व्हाई डिडंट वी सी हर बियॉन्ड व्हाट शी इज डिपिक्टेड इन ए बॉलीवुड फिल्म. एंड बिकॉज अभी अनारकली हम वही देखते हैं कि वो सलीम की महबूबा है, वो किसी की बेटी है, वो सोसाइटी में क्या है, वो जहाँ है वो क्यों है, जो कर रही है वो क्यों कर रही है, उसके साथ क्या हुआ और वो क्यों हुआ. तो ये पूरा उसको एज ए कैरेक्टर देखना, जब मैंने इसके बारे में जितना भी पढ़ा, आई फेल्ट सो हैप्पी दैट दैट इन दीज डेज, बिकॉज दैट्स व्हाट इवन आई हैव बीन डूइंग इन माय फिल्म्स. आई सी फीमेल कैरेक्टर्स आर स्ट्रॉन्गर देन as per se the female are stronger than men. Though in our latest film we were just talking about, I have to see, I'm really disturbed just by the description of scenes, I am told, but I really want to go and see it myself. But so I'm so happy that you worked on this and you saw her beyond what has been, and I think no one has done that after Mughal-e-Azam, and no one even bothered to look at Anarkali as a character. So this is so good, and I'm looking forward to reading this book. And in one of the blurbs, it is written that it naturally brings itself for an adaptation of a film or a series. So I'm looking forward to. Please consider me for that.
Deal done. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Sumant, we'll just get started on this. The first question is, of course, what Vishal touched upon. The moment we say the name देखिए, मतलब Anarkali, I can't get to Anarkali without talking about Mughal-e-Azam and Madhubala. So it's part of our pop culture consciousness, Was that ever a daunting prospect? How did you, and if it was, how did you go about making your Anarkali stand out differently from that image?
Thank you so much, first of all, Vishaljit, for honoring us. It's a privilege. And thank you, everyone, all of you, for being here, because this is very encouraging, I have to say. Often, we don't find that kind of audience at a book launch session. And I have attended many, and it's always very disheartening to see when people don't really come, when authors work so hard on their book, whether it's their first book or number 5th book. And this is what really encourages. And of course, your words, Vishal, were very, very encouraging. And of course, everybody who's worked on the book, right from Ajay, Shantanu, Chakrika, my colleagues who have reviewed, and then of course my family, each one of you, of course, made it happen. So I had to say these words of thanks. For me, this character had intrigued me right from the time that I had seen Mughal-e-Azam. I'm sure millions of others, because she was put on a pedestal. She was an iconic image which even continues to sort of dominate our mind space even today. And the bar that was set by both Beena Rai ji and Madhubala, and also both the filmmakers, was really very, very hard to beat, because this was cast in stone. The image of Madhubala, her beauty, her grace, the dignity, the demeanor, the courage, the intensity of the love, and of course the whole persona as a dancer, as a person, the ability to stay alive in our hearts and our minds for decades in itself shows the power of that character. And what has always bothered me as someone who reads books, someone who watches cinema, someone who actually rationalizes things being a lawyer, that who was this person eventually? What was she? Who was she beyond being just Salim's mehbooba, as you described? Or even someone who was seen to have brought a father and son to confrontation, almost to a brink of war. Something which, at the same point in time, redefined what love meant. Sacrifice, selfless, the purity. I'm looking at Mughal-e-Azam for that matter. Salim and Madhubala and Dilip Kumar ji never ever touched each other for a moment in such a passionate love story. One moment of touch was the feather on the place, and I think that intensity of that gives you goosebumps today. Now, what were those people? How did they actually then describe, convey, communicate their love, their feelings? What was their life? And and most importantly, in fact, what made Anarkali what she was eventually? Not just as a dancer, of course, that's also very important, but also as a person who came to be such a rebel, who came to be such a bold person, who had the ability to let go her life, even though she was offered all by the emperor as treasures in lieu of her, keeping Salim away from her life. And that is what really, battled inside me. And that's why I thought, I'm sure she must be born into a family. There must be her parents who would have brought her up the way she was. Where did she grow up? What made her pick Kathak as a dancer? How did they actually meet? Was it really just at the palace when she came to dance, as Akbar invited her, as a booth which was unveiled just before the dance? Was it just the eyes that met? Was it love at first sight there? Or there was something more that really? And how did she actually end up in the palace in the first place? And then, of course, what really transpired, and most importantly, did she really die? Was she really bricked alive? Was she let go? Because as you go to Fatehpur Sikri, the myth goes, the legends go that she was allowed to escape through a tunnel that opened near Yamuna in Delhi. And ultimately she ended up in Lahore because that's where her tomb is, as they say. So there were so many questions that remained unanswered, and I thought that I should. And of course, there's a very interesting story, which actually provoked me to go into search of this. All this, of course, was at the back of mind in my subconscious in some way. But that's an answer to another question.
We'll come back to the story. We'll continue with the passion that you have. Sumant actually mentioned this idea to me, I think 6-7 years back, and it's been with him. He has nurtured a passion for Anarkali for the longest time, and so we'll come to the question. But Asha, how have you coped with this passion? Like, it's the way he talks about Anarkali is, yeah, please, absolutely, yeah. It almost seems like Anarkali is the other woman in the.
Oh my God. So, thank you everybody. Thank you Vishalji, Ajit, Ajay and everyone. Thank you all. No, fine. It's difficult. I wouldn't say it's a other woman or something, as he put it. But then I'm the reality in Sumant's dream somewhere. So. So जब भी मैं सुबह अपनी जलेबी वाली जिंदगी में उठती हूँ, तो जलेबी जैसी जिंदगी में मैं सोचती हूँ कि आज तो मैंने बहुत कुछ कर लिया, लेकिन रात को मैं उसी बेड के उसी कोने में मिलती हूँ और वहाँ मेरी 4 बहनें हम रोज गप मारते हैं और उन बातों में मैं इतनी पैशनेटली उन बातों को हम लोग करते हैं, सारे लोग, हम लोग चारों बहनें, हम इतनी बातें होती है हमारी कि मुझे उस वक्त कोई डिस्टर्बेंस नहीं चाहिए होता है। तो उस वक्त मुझे सुमंत अपने स्क्रीन में बातें करते हुए बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं। तो वो स्क्रीन में बैठ के रोज हंस रहे हैं, खुद ही बातें कर रहे हैं और बहुत मुस्कुरा रहे हैं, तो मुझे वो बहुत अच्छा लगा। So that is the only contribution I have given in that, so that I can talk to my friends.
So was he talking to? He was talking to Anarkali on the screen. That's.
So that is his
okay.
that screen image and the screen where he'll keep smiling. Then I'll just see कि अच्छा हंस रहे तो खुशी होएंगे. So that's how it is. So that's the only contribution I have.
Thank you. Sumant, one of the things that there are so many other characters, say historical characters, a Razia Sultan or a Noor Jahan or a Rani of Jhansi, all of them extremely storied. And so what was it about Anarkali that again on Razia Sultan very little is available? There's a whole lot of imagination that is possible. Rani of Jhansi, again antecedents are not there. Noor Jahan, again there is a lot of Noor Jahan here, but why Anarkali over?
Well, I think if you talk of Noor Jahan, whether you talk of Razia Sultan or Lakshmi Bai, I mean, there are so many characters in history down to our ancient texts. And they were all, to the extent that I know of them, very intelligent women. Valor, bravery, the ability to rule, the ability to battle, the ability to mother, the ability to be a great daughter, sister, all of them. And I think what was probably a little common amongst all of them, which differentiates Anarkali from them, is that all these women were part of the royalty. So they had an access to training, they had access to education, they had access to grooming, they were mentored. While with Anarkali, from my analysis and from my study, she may not have born into royalty, but she was no less in terms of the qualities that she had, in terms of her ability to stand in the same stature as some of these women did. The only thing is that because she was always seen as a nautch girl or as a courtesan or just as from a very limited prism of being a lover, and that is all, is I think which deprived her of an identity beyond that episode in Mughal Azam, because Mughal Azam and Anarkali as films were just one episode in her life, right? And of course, she would have lived a life beyond that, before and after, in all likelihood. And of course, that is what probably makes her different, and yet, in my view, no less in stature than some of these women. And I think she leaves a lot of lessons for young people about selfless love. And I think that's something which I hope resonates with the young people, which may not actually, because today the whole culture of breakups, move on, is very rapid, and yeah, situationships. And while this is a love story that that you are even looking at even beyond your current life, that is the depth of the love, the width of the love, the height of the love is the what I say. I'm so sorry I keep moving the mic away, but yeah. Just go to check the sound.
Vishal, I'll just come back to Sumant with a couple of other questions. But Vishal, historical fiction, where do you place it as a filmmaker, as in terms of literature, in contemporary times? How do you place it? How do you see it? What do you see is the importance of it, if at all it has any importance from a contemporary point of view?
Anarkali?
Historical fiction. Historical fiction in general, like, it could be Anarkali, it could be the story of the Mughals, it could be the story of the British, any historical fiction, that narrative.
Now history is becoming fiction. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
so now the history is fiction. And I think because there is no one to, accept, the people who are for or against. But I mean, Aurangzeb was a great character.
Yeah.
So, and all I think the history which we have not actually been able to make in Bollywood, for many reasons for that, is it requires a lot of money, and today as an audience we all are exposed to Lord of the Rings and the Game of Thrones, where the period is so exotic and the wars are so real. And they are so captivating, exotic, that to achieve that kind of finesse, you need a lot of money. And I don't think we as an industry are capable of achieving something like that. Because that requires a lot of money, and when you require a lot of money, then you need a lot of audience, then you have to go beyond India and beyond NRI, beyond diaspora. And you have to make it universal. So there's a lot of things are required.
Also, research is a very big aspect of it. No, like we do lack in that. This book has come from a lot of research, which is my next question. But even in cinema, to create something like that, to make it authentic.
Yeah, I think that's a very individualistic thing, because some people believe in doing research. Some they don't. They say it chemical locha with one word and beautiful word. You can get away with the whole thing. I mean, that's the power of cinema.
Yeah.
That you don't know what kind of disease Munna Bhai had.
Yeah.
But it was just called a chemical lucha. So he didn't want to go into the details of his, mental illness. So I mean that's a very individualistic question, but I think the other book I remember which made a very good fiction in history. What was that Meera and that Maharashtrian writer
Kukold.
Kukold.
इसका किरण नागरकर.
Yes, I think that
Yeah,
was a really
brilliant,
good,
brilliant,
brilliant
evocation of
the fiction,
Yeah, yeah,
fictionalization of the history.
Uh, Sumant, coming to you, of course, you'll tell the story that inspired, that the story that you stopped midway, and along with that, what is the kind, apart from Imtiaz Taj's work, there is remarkably nothing in popular reading and nothing in English. There's a couple of papers written by professors and all, but and a couple of things in Hindi and local languages, but nothing in English and nothing substantial. So what were your research inputs into it, apart from the imagination of creating the whole Anarkali universe? How did you go about, and that story, of course?
Sure. I mean, I'll do it very, very quickly. The story actually, because I'm a great fan of Rajasthan. I've done every nook and corner, even from the time when I was single. And of course, Asha doesn't go to Rajasthan anymore because she's so fed up of suggesting Rajasthan. But I am so fascinated by the history that Rajasthan brings forth, and of course other parts of the country as well. But it's close to us, so I take the liberty of going there very often. And of course, I've done Fatehpur Sikri millions of times, and every time you go there, there are people who tell you about the myths, the legends, the stories. Some of them are exaggerated, highly exaggerated, of course, and made up. In one of those trips, I met one such tour guide who was just, determined to make me believe that Anarkali was bricked alive. There is a tunnel that goes right up to Delhi, and it has been blocked. And believe you me, she escaped and ultimately ended up in Lahore, and probably she was also Noor Jahan. I mean, they say all kind of things. And so I obviously, I made the mistake of, in hindsight, maybe not, it was not a mistake, but they gave me the opportunity of doing the book. But I challenged him, I questioned him, probably I mocked at him, which I shouldn't have. And he took an affront to that. He said, अगर आपके पास कुछ सच है अनारकली का तो वो बताइए ना, अगर हमारे सच को आप क्यों क्वेश्चन करते हैं, उसको क्यों belittle करते हैं? He said in his own style, I don't remember it as such as yet, but I think he had a point. He said, I'm telling the story that I know, but if you know something different, you tell that. But you just can't say that your story is not believable, or you can't ridicule my story, in my belief. And of course, I'm sure they live in that community which really believes every part of it to an extent. And I think that question stayed in my mind, and I thought, yes, of course, I have to then find my own answer to the story, my own, search for her truth, for the truth of the story, and that stayed in my subconscious, I think, for a few months or probably even years. And at some point in time, I think I decided that I should take the leap of faith, and I should probably go that path. So that's the story. And I must find that gentleman someday if I'm able to go and thank him for having set me on that.
And maybe if we go ahead
in widening your canvas of imagination in order to so go beyond the obvious. And I think your mind gets trained for that. As a lawyer, I think whether it's the James Hadley Chase, whether it's the Earl Stanley Gardner, and of course much later John Grisham, whatever I read, I think that has in some way shaped how I analyze things. And as a lawyer, it's so important. And a lawyer as such, but maybe a book on insolvency is some time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before we open the thing to, Vishal has to leave, and just one question between the two of you, Vishal and Sumant. If Anarkali were to be cast,
don't think anybody can do justice today to Sanjeev. Rishi Kapoor होते तो शायद मुझे लगता है मेरे दिमाग में कि वो कर लेते. उसके बाद हमें लगता है कि हाँ संजीव कुमार के लिए करना है तो आमिर खान ही करते हैं बिकॉज़ वो उस रोल में ढल जाते हैं. बट आई डोंट नो, आई स्टिल हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू फिगर दैट आउट. सो अनारकली के तो बहुत दूर है. और जो अनारकली की इमेजिनेशन है मेरे दिमाग में, आप देखें तो मेरे को इतनी हिम्मत भी नहीं है कि उनको मैं कवर पे उनका पूरा चेहरा एक्टर पोर्ट्रे करना है. वो तो खैर जी नहीं, मैं तो सोचता हूँ कि किताब पढ़ के अगर आप आज अगर हम आपको कर सकते तो उससे मतलब सच में मेरे को तो
Al has to leave, so if we can have questions, please. So not long monologues. I'm sorry, but just questions.
About the cover. In our public mind, obviously Mughal-e-Azam and Madhubala is synonymous, with the face of Anarkali. So why this size 0 Anarkali? And who is closer to reality? The Anarkali that, Madhubala depicted, or your Anarkali? So that would be my question.
मुझे लगता नहीं है कि ये साइज 0 हमने कुछ किया। वो घाघरा आपकी वजह से आपको थोड़ा सा लग रहा है कि वो स्वर्ल कर रहा है, वो है, ऐसा नहीं है। I mean, I think मुझे लगता है कि we should leave it to the imagination of everybody who reads what Anarkali. That's how the book comes across. If you read the book, she's not shown as slim and slender. That is how. I don't think there's much attention paid to her figure that way, and how she. I mean, of course, her beauty has been described in that. Therefore, there is a description of how tall she is and things like that. And she actually comes from Afghanistan, so she obviously carries a certain height and a certain broad shoulders. I mean, that is how it is. But I don't think that was intentional. That was,
Okay.
yeah.
And Shantanu already touched upon this. So in terms of retellings, is Anarkali the new Draupadi?
Oh, well,
As a subject
no,
of retellings.
No, I don't think there is any. I didn't really do it with any set goal in my mind as to how it is. Everything she comes across after you would have read the book is actually a result of a natural process as to how the story progresses and how she come across as a protagonist in the story. There's no deliberate and conscious effort by me to create a larger than life image out of her. I think that's a natural process, is how I've seen, and that's why you will see that it is not that in 80,000 words she carries 50,000 words. That would have been injustice to her. That would have been probably overwhelming. She has been swiftly, seamlessly brought into the story, and her it is a reality that she is in what she was, and she became the name because of certain events that took place and her engagement with the royalty. So we couldn't have brushed aside some of the very important characters, and that's why if you'll see the book, there is a good amount of space that is given to Gulbadan, to Menunissa, to Salim, to Akbar, to show their state of mind and why they responded and reacted to Anarkali the way ultimately they did in the book. And that, so merely Anarkali walking alone in the book wouldn't have really justified that story as well. So,
was there any specific place in Rajasthan where you met that person who...
फतेहपुर सीकरी में अगर आप जाएं तो वहाँ पर एक जगह है ग्रेवयार्ड के पास, जहाँ एक दरवाज़ा है जो लॉक्ड है, और जब आप पूछेंगे उससे कि ये लॉक्ड क्यों है तो वो बताएंगे कि यहाँ से गुफा है जो दिल्ली तक जाती है, और ये वही गुफा है जहाँ से अनारकली को छुपा करके उसकी जान, जो जैसे मुगल-ए-आज़म में आपने देखा है कि उनकी मदर आकर के मांगती हैं कि उसका अपना फेवर का रिटर्न, तो वो वही है, वहीं पे फतेहपुर सीकरी में आप जब जाएंगे.
Another one, what is the event after partition on which you are planning your third book, if you can?
Oh, I can't disclose that. I can't disclose that. Yes, please, thank you. But I'm sure you'll get to see the book if the book happens.
Okay, I'm apologizing beforehand for asking this question to you, Sumant. You said something a little while back. You said that, and you also seem to agree with that, sir, Vishal, sir. You said that, these days people, they step out of relationships very fast and they move on. I have a bone of contention to pick with you for saying that. I think it's because people don't tolerate a lot of stuff that we were kind of conditioned to put up with in the past, For example, Anarkali would have probably been a villainess instead of a heroine had she convinced Salim to walk out with her, for example. We wouldn't be talking about her like this.
Right.
So I think it's very unfair to, the people of this generation. I think it's kudos to them. I think, I'm sorry for going on, but I feel that was a little unfair, so I just wanted to say
Yes,
that. I mean, do you
no,
agree?
you're entitled to your opinion. That was my opinion, and I respect your opinion. Um, what I you have to see the context in which I made the opinion. I was not generalizing or demeaning what has been happening today. I was not in any manner being judgmental or an opinion maker on that. What I was really saying was that the love that you will see manifested in this book from Anarkali is the kind of love that we have seen. No, just a moment. We can argue later on. कोई बात नहीं इस पे, ठीक है? The point is that पहले हमारी जनरेशन में भी देखा है, हमने अपने पेरेंट्स की जनरेशन में देखा, उससे पहले भी देखा, love, the definition of the love changes, right? How love is expressed changes. तो हर एक जनरेशन का एक अलग-अलग होता है. हमारे में अभी वो हैंगओवर है उस जनरेशन का. हमारे लिए ये भी है कि आप जो बातें आंखों से कर सकते हैं, that to us that is romance. There's nothing wrong in holding hand and walking in the garden. I mean, I don't disapprove of that at all. I mean, I would even say that it's fine to express yourself in public. But I believe that there is also another, it takes a different courage, different level of courage to be able to express yourself without being intimate. That's a different kind of romance. I'm only saying that romance also has a certain significance and a certain, but I'm not for a moment suggesting that what is happening today shouldn't really be happening or not comparing it. But I do believe that there is something that you will find, and that is why if you see, this book actually is not dedicated to anything else but for the fateful heartbreaks. So it actually expresses the feelings of a woman who has had a heartbreak. And for the reasons that, despite the fact that she loves unconditionally, and yet social factors, external factors, the politics makes it. So it is about the sacrifice, it's about that. So I think I don't want to in any manner compare, because I think that was not my intention. I'm sorry if I came across like that. But certainly, I mean, when you will read this, you will find that the intensity and passion that this carries is a different level altogether.
Yeah, like Gulzar Sahab always said, मैं तुलसी तेरे आंगन की used to be one type of love. अब ना तुलसी है ना आंगन है. So, it has to change.
No, I'm also sorry if I came across like that.
We meant that. Yeah, because, because love is all about freedom. And if this generation is getting that freedom to walk in and out of that relationship, I mean, that's the most beautiful thing. Because marriage as an institution is also questionable that way. And that generation can ask us that. So I don't think, I mean, when we say, of course, expressions change. पहले खत लिखते थे तो पता नहीं अगर कहीं भेजना हो दिल्ली से कोलकाता तो 15 दिन लग जाते थे पहुंचने में. आज 5 सेकंड में टेक्स्ट 5 सेकंड में नहीं लगता है, और वो रेड भी आ जाता है कि उन्होंने पढ़ा या नहीं पढ़ा. सो आई मीन हर लव का हर जनरेशन का, जैसे सुमन बोल रहे थे, वो अलग एक्सप्रेशन है. सिचुएशनशिप, सच ए ब्यूटिफुल वर्ड that's given by this generation. Yes, situationship. Toxic relationships. I mean, this word is given by this generation. And everybody has been at some stage of his life, has been in a toxic relationship. But this name is given by this. I think this is lovely, and this generation should take pride and should take happiness that like the living in relationship is acceptable by society. So, and they can walk in and walk out, and that's the beautiful thing. The love is all about freedom. It should free you, not bind you.
विशाल जी, सिर्फ एक जज्बा है बल्कि एक रूहानी चीज़ है जो अज़ल से बनी है, अज़ल चलती रही है. इस मोहब्बत को आप एक माँ का प्यार भी कह सकते हैं, एक भाई बहन का भी कह सकते हैं, और एक मर्द औरत के बीच में भी प्यार हो सकता है. तो वो प्यार तो नहीं बदल सकता. नई जनरेशन को बहुत मुबारक हो, उनको इसका नाम दूसरा रखना चाहिए. जैसे कि मार्क ज़करबर्ग ने दिल के बजाय कई रंग के दिल लगा दिए. कुछ होता हम अपने दिल को तकलीफ़ नहीं देते हैं, सीधे से दबाया और एक दिल भेज दिया. मेरा दिल तो बहुत मजबूत, हाँ। तो नए जनरेशन से कोई माफ़ी मांगने की ज़रूरत नहीं
नहीं
है।
माफ़ी नहीं मांग रहे, मैं तो अप्रिशिएट कर रहा हूँ कि
वो
एंड आई एम जेलस ऑफ दिस, एनवियस ऑफ दिस जनरेशन
आप
कि
जाएं
दे हैव दिस।
आप जहाँ हैं वहीं रहिए, क्योंकि
नहीं, बिकॉज हम, मुझे भी ये बात गलत लगती है कि हम इस जनरेशन के प्यार को प्यार नहीं कह रहे हैं। आप कैसे कह सकते हैं कि आपका प्यार प्यार, हमारा प्यार प्यार नहीं?
आप देखिए दुनिया बदल रही है, नाम बदल है, तो प्यार का नाम बदल कर हम प्यार कर देना।
जी नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं, सिर्फ एहसास है
प्यार-
ये,
प्यार-
रूह से महसूस करो। सिर्फ एहसास है ये, रूह से महसूस करो। प्यार को प्यार ही रहने दो, कोई नाम ना दो।
On that very eloquent note, I'd like to call this evening to a close. One question. Okay. Okay.
Congratulations, Sumant, first of all. But talking about love or talking about art and talking also about courage, I would like to ask, और आप दिन में आपको सुन रही थी विशाल जी, तो अगर हम विमेन की बात करें, महिलाओं की बात करें, तो आज खासकर देखा जा रहा फिल्मों में भी, लिटरेचर में, कि अगर उनको इम्पावर्ड दिखाना है तो बहुत एग्रेशन भी दिखाना है। एक पुलिस वाली, एक आर्मी, एक सर्टन, अगेन अ स्टीरियोटाइप. So coming back to how you're expressing yourself in certain time, I would say that was courage. So how would you really look, Sumant and Vishalji, to you both, how would you look at this woman who has evolved today, and how would you really compare?
So मैं तो आपको एक आपके सवाल का जो जवाब है ना, वो एक enduring passion एक चैप्टर है इसमें, उसके 3 पैराग्राफ्स में आपको मिल जाएगा कि उसके लिए जो करेज है वो क्या है। करेज इज नॉट रोलिंग अप द स्लीव्स ओनली. Courage is not only taking a plunge into the battle. Courage is not just to be able to pull out your weapon and shoot and kill and to score a victory. The courage is to be able to accept the reality and to be able to deal with it with dignity. Even accept, make a sacrifice with silence and dignity without in any manner wanting to make headlines out of that. Because that is what real true sacrifice, it works very silently. And that is what gives it longevity. And that is why Anarkali even today continues to intrigue us, remains an enigma, because of the immense amount of sacrifice that he made in love. And that is why I wanted to make that, love, when it becomes eternal, there is always a reason why it stays eternal. There is a reason why certain stories today across continents for centuries have remained eternal. There are certain stories by Bollywood even today will remain eternal in terms of how they have portrayed love, right? And there will be movies of love that you would not even remember because they do not capture the imagination and the collective consciousness of us as a society, as a community. Because we are all people, human beings living in a community, living in a society bound by certain rules. And there will always be a collective consciousness of this community, this society. And that is why certain movies will resonate with us, songs will resonate with us, which will have no life, they'll be lifeless. And that is why Anarkali, the story of Anarkali is because of her immense love, sacrifice of the kind that she had or carried. And that is why I believe that it is a story that I hope will inspire people in terms of telling a story of love that I believe personally is what is love is all about.
Any thoughts, sir, Vishal sir, on this?
नहीं, मुझे लगता है कि देखिए, मैं अपने प्रोफेशन की आपको बात बताता हूँ. हमारे प्रोफेशन में आज एक आप फिल्म यूनिट के अंदर अगर जाएंगे तो आपको 80% फीमेल मिलेंगी, 20% मेल मिलेंगे. आप यहाँ देखिए, यहाँ इस रूम का रेशियो देखिए. तो आई थिंक जब औरत को किचन से बाहर आने का साहस मिला, उसको पढ़ने की आज़ादी मिली, उसको अपना सपना जीने की आज़ादी मिली, तो वो अगर आपको अग्रेशन लग रहा है, मुझे अग्रेशन नहीं लग रहा. मुझे लग रहा है कि हाँ, अगर वो पुलिस में जाके कर सकती है, अगर वो फाइटर पायलट बन सकती है, वो पोएट बन सकती है, सब कुछ वो जो चाहे बन सकती है. डिपिक्शन तो फिर वो तो बड़ा इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक चीज़ है, यू नो, कि वो आप उस फिल्म मेकर, इन जनरल तो सब फिल्म में वैसी नहीं बनती हैं, और या इन सारे फिल्म मेकर्स वैसा काम नहीं करते हैं, पर वो तो पहले भी होता था। पहले तो औरत का फिल्म में वजूद ही सिर्फ महबूबा का होता था, और तो कुछ होता ही नहीं था, या तो पत्नी ही होती थी या बहन होती थी, और उसका अपनी कोई पर्सनैलिटी तो होती नहीं थी। और फिल्म जो होती है वो आप सोसाइटी का वैसे भी आईना होती है, उल्टा नहीं होता है कि फिल्म से सोसाइटी बनती है, सोसाइटी जो होती है उसको फिल्म दिखाती है। तो आई थिंक अगर ये अग्रेशन है और यह अगर डिपिक्शन है तो इसमें कुछ सच्चाई भी होगी। जी जी जी।
So, thank you everybody for your presence this evening. Thank you Ajay for publishing this book. It's been wonderful to have this. Vishal, I can't thank you enough for your presence. You know, and Sumant, you know, there is nothing more humbling, more enabling for a person, for an editor, than an author handing over his book, her book to the editor. It's like something, I don't think there's any other feeling in this world that equals that trust, that. So, and Vishal trusted me a few years back with his first book of poems. You know, one can only be grateful for that trust, for that faith, Sumant. And similar gratitude, Chakrika, I'd like you to come on stage here, because if anything, if anybody deserves to be on stage more than me also, it's Chakrika, for the way she has, you know. Sumant has been a hard taskmaster, gave us very little time on the book, and I have very heavily leaned on Chakrika to put this together for us. Chakrika, please, and a big round of applause for, you know, as editors, you know. And thank you, Avnika. Anshul, I don't know if Anshul's here. And a lot of thanks for our production person, Harish ji. You know, सुमंत ने छोड़ दिया कि ये किताब मुझे 9 तारीख को चाहिए। उसके बाद जो होता है, उसके बाद जो चक्रिका पे बीती है, जो हरीश पे बीता है, वो हमको ही पता है. So that those are behind the scenes stories. We'll narrate it over drinks someday. Thank you so much. Nobody goes out. Ajay, thank you so much. Please come on stage. Ajay,
please. Yeah.
Please come on stage. You know, like I have been, you know, my family tells me that Saturdays and Sundays आप घर पे नहीं मिलते हो क्योंकि आप कुंजुम में मिलते हो. You know, so I plead guilty, but this is a guy who has made a store visit almost a weekend. I just did a piece in which I said, you know, at one point of time, people used to come to Delhi and I used to take them to Red Fort and Jama Masjid and all of that. Now I take them to Kunjum, you know, so.
So I just take 2 minutes to thank you, each one of you. I know Saturday evening is always family time. You want to be with the family, you want to be dining out, you want to be taking your stress out, drinking, food, family. And I'm really very grateful that all of you took the time out to come here and to share this immense amount of joy that I have this evening together with my family and friends, and of course the entire publishing team, the editorial team who have worked very hard on this. Thank you, Vishal, just so much for taking the time out, and it obviously it takes the experience of the evening to an entirely different level. Thank you, Ajay, for hosting us. Kunzum is today the mecca of book launches and book events, and thank you for giving this to the city, which needed it very, very much. And of course, thank you for your team for organizing everything for us so warmly and so welcoming. So thank you again. Please.
Nobody leaves, please. You have a copy of the book.
I'm giving my other book also. Okay, no problem.